Philadelphia's new district attorney is Larry Krasner. We've talked about him before on the program. When the election happened, he was a guy that's considered to be different than other DAs. He's going to change things, and in fact, he already has in Philly. This week, he's taken the significant step of eliminating cash bail programs for a number of low-level offenses. So why would you want to do this? If you pay the cash bail, then you get to get out of jail. Turns out, though, that if you charge someone thousands of dollars to be bailed out, it's really easy for rich people to pay that, and very difficult, if not impossible, for a lot of people of lower socioeconomic status to do that. And so this is I was gonna say multi-hundred-year wrong, but no, this is a multi-thousand-year wrong. It's, as we're gonna talk about later, it's from medieval times, and it still just exists in a lot of America. But thankfully, at least in Philly, it's being limited. The policies that it's being removed from include retail burglary, prostitution, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, resisting arrest, providing false identification, a number of other things, including some that are classified as felonies, which is one of the significant ways that this Philadelphia change goes beyond some other programs that have tried to eliminate cash bail. And this is not a small problem, this is a big problem. In Philadelphia, about 20% of the people, of the 6,100 people in city jails, are there because they can't afford to pay their cash bail. And so they stay days or weeks or months or possibly even longer just because they don't have the money. That doesn't seem fair to me. I imagine it doesn't seem fair to most people. It turns out that nationwide, about 60% of all incarcerated Americans are held in pretrial detention. In fact, the numbers are that the number of people in America at any given moment that are simply there because they can't afford bail is larger than the prison population of almost every other country on the planet.
Wow.
And so great job, Larry Krasner. Really fast, I just want to read one quote. I know we don't have much time, but he said this: "There's absolutely no reason why someone who will show up to court, is not a risk of flight, is not a threat to their neighbors and community, should sit in jail for days or weeks or months or years because they can't post a small amount of bail. We do not imprison the poor in the United States for the so-called crime of poverty." He's done a number of other things, by the way. Since January, he's purged his office of many career prosecutors, announced his support for city-sponsored safe injection sites for intravenous drug users, and declined to prosecute charges of marijuana possession.
So when you have establishment guys in office, they give you a different drug, the tranquilizing drug of gradualism, as Martin Luther King said. And they tell you, no, not now, not now. We can't do it now. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's not practical. So Larry Krasner was an actual progressive. A lot of progressive groups fought for him. He won, and it turns out you can do it. You can do it right now. There's nothing stopping you. What generally stops the establishment Democrats is their donors. They don't want progress. They don't want change. They generally want the status quo. And so if you elect a real progressive, he will do real progressive things like this. So now, my favorite quote comes from Philly.com, who's covering this story. They say that jailing suspects unless they can pay disproportionately punishes minorities and the poor. You don't say. Well, look, let's leave out minorities for a second. It completely punishes the poor, not just disproportionately, right? So if you can pay, you pay it and you don't have to sit in jail. If you can't pay, it's because you're poor, and hence it completely punishes the poor.
And you can't work, and you gotta get somebody to take care of your kids possibly.
And understand something. So this is not a wild, crazy thing where we let everybody out of jail. No, first of all, this is pre-conviction, okay? Pre-conviction, you're supposed to be assumed innocent. Okay, but for the violent offenses, no, they're not letting them out. This is just for non-violent offenses, small level offenses. If you're rich, you're obviously gonna have the small amount of money that it takes to get bail on those cases. Even if you're middle class, you're probably gonna have enough money to have bail. So only the poor stay in jail, but not just that. Since everyone else gets out, you're actually being punished not for doing the offense, but for being poor. Yeah. So that's why you're in prison. Everyone else can go out of prison until they have their trial. If you're poor, you get punished for being poor. You must stay in prison until you have this trial on a low-level offense.
Yeah.
What they did in reforming this system is justice. So thank you, Larry Krasner. Thank you for every progressive group who fought for him and for every voter that made this justice possible. You just watched a video by the Young Turks, the home of the revolution. If you'd like to get the full show, come join us and become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.